Hey, what's up, guys? Here in Virginia Beach. Let's say hi, guys.
Hey.
This is fucking second time. We're fucking haunting your house the second time there, Steve. Yeah. Thanks for hooking us in.
Of course, anytime.
Dude, Steve was at the Ozark Summit, yeah? Fucking hey, that's fucking long time ago, man. Can't believe how long time passes, you know? When was that?
July 4th.
July 4th, so it's almost 2 months now. Fuck. That's right. We still owe you for those fireworks. You fucking styled this out, man. This guy went crazy with the fireworks. You saw some of them in the video, but, you know, people saw, you know, but we're just telling stories. We're just talking about stuff, you know, so everybody's fucking Stingray was telling some great stories about the Navy and the shit room and everything. You want to tell them about the shit room? Tell them about the shit room. That was good.
All right, I'm old. This is like an old class. So I'm old, and this is like when I was a kid, and this was like the last of this class that even existed, and a training cruise, and that was it. We so just in the generally like we're talking about MGTOW versus that sometimes the herd does have some intelligence. And often maybe you should follow. Not often, but occasionally, often you should follow the herd. And so I'm in the bathroom, and I'm just taking a piss, and all of a sudden I hear this like strange sound and strange vibration, and all of a sudden everyone else in there starts sprinting out of the room. I'm like, oh, I'm out of here. And of course I'm like, we're going, and I get out, and again, this is like an old class. And the thing, and apparently the vibration was a pre-warning of like the sewage system, like reverse pressurizing or something. The valve had like jammed and then it vibrates for a while and then the thing freaking explodes. And just as we get outside, that was it. Just as I'm outside, well, actually a couple guys after me, but just as we get outside, the door shuts and that's it. Then the sewage system basically explodes into the room. And there's still one guy in there. And he's like, and you can see him in the window, and he's trying to get out, and the guy's like pounding on the door, and we're like, we're not fucking opening the goddamn door. Then we get sewage all over the. It's actually called CHT in the Navy, but we're like, it's going to get all over the hallway. It's going to get everywhere, and you can see him through the window. And he's looking through the window, and then the window finally covered over with shit and stuff. But fine, and then afterwards you get out, and of course me, especially as a kid, me asking like the stupidest questions of all. But even then, I'm looking at the guy. I'm like, gee, why didn't you open the door? He's like, no shit, asshole. Of course I tried to fucking open the door, but it was covered with so much sewage I couldn't turn the handle anymore. And I'm just like, oh god. And again, it's just an example of. Sometimes if other people are like running in a certain direction, maybe you should run in that direction too. Maybe not. I mean, I'm certainly MGTOW, go your own way and think about what you're doing when you do stuff. But every once in a while, maybe we were talking about maybe dangerous situations, boats, dangerous hikes or whatever. If you see a mob going one way, maybe there's a bear there. Maybe there's a sewage system about to explode. Maybe I don't know what. But yeah, that was one of the days where I was just like, okay. And that was I was in the Navy a very short period of time then, still in training. And it was definitely an example of like, a lot of these like older guys, they know what the hell they're doing. I mean, not saying everybody does and follow them off a cliff, but that was a clear example where I'm like, everyone else is running. I'm like, time to fucking run. I do not want to be the last guy in here for whatever reason. Even though I didn't know what the danger was when I started running. I'm very happy I ran that day. It went pretty good.
Right. Yeah. I've seen that so many times in Asia where I'll be driving, right? Because I drove a lot in Japan. And I'd be driving, and I just, we'd be getting off the freeway, and then I would see that kind of everybody's turning right. But then I would say, I'd say to my friend or girlfriend, whoever was with me, I'd say, well, like we're going left, we're going that way. And then there was this kind of, I don't know, like Japanese people, they have this sense, like if everybody's not doing something, that there's something wrong with it, or there's a reason, because there's a billion, how many people are in Asia? Like there's 1.4 billion in China. There's like 1.1 or 2 in India. There's more people. There's almost half the U.S. population in the size of California and Japan. I mean, there's a lot of people, and so you like in America, there's no people. Basically, there's no people in America. Believe it or not, like it's never crowded in America. Like no matter what anybody says, not to me. Like there's no people here. I always feel like it's been abandoned. Like it's a ghost town to me. Even New York City. It's like there's no people, like, because I'm used to Asia, right? Asia's always a lot of people, right? But anyway, they're doing stuff, right? And they know stuff, right? So I realized, like, I would turn left, and then fucking it would be the wrong road, or the road would be closed, or it would be like not connected to the other road, or there'd be a bridge, or that wouldn't work, or there'd be like a river, the road was under construction, or something was wrong, and I just at some point, because I was very independent. I would just always go the way that I was going to go, and then there was some point where I realized that, damn, I'm in Asia. I'm almost better off if I don't know and I don't have time to look at the map. I just got a moment's notice. Turn where everybody else turns. Just because that's how it is. Because there'll be a sign I can't read coming up at me at like 80 miles an hour, and I can't read it, and I don't have time to look it up. And it's just like, I got to make a decision, this bridge, or, that one or that one. And I know if I go the wrong way, I'm going to have to pay a toll. I'm going to have to go around. It's going to take 20 minutes. And I just go with the crowd. Just go with the crowd. And that is, I think I was thinking about when I'm a little kid, when you're a little kid, right? And you're watching your dad and his friends, right? You're kind of watching adults do things, and you realize they know things you don't know. And so, just you get caught out in the cold and they don't, they bring an extra jacket when it rains and you didn't, and you're kind of like watching them, and then you learn how to act and stuff. But I think as we get older, I think it's a balance, right? It's life is a balance. Like, when do you follow the crowd? Because sometimes the crowd, there's a great book actually, there's a fantastic book called The Wisdom of Crowds. And that is a fucking good book. That is no joke. Yeah, that is a very good concept. In that book, I read it, and it's long ago. I can't summarize it right now, but I remember realizing that eventually human beings figure things out. It takes time, but eventually the crowd will kind of understand. Like, for example, right now, the threat of China, the crowd is starting to get it. Before you had like experts who would understand something, or even Japan back when they were not trading fairly, right? There's a few people who understood it, the trade negotiators. And then finally the guy next door starts talking about it. Hey, Japan's not doing this. They're not letting our cars in, and then things get fixed, right? There's a wisdom in crowds. It just takes time. But once the crowd gets something, it is pretty powerful, and sometimes you can learn from humanity. At the same time is you can have a concept that is groundbreaking and unique, and you have to hold on to that. When you are Galileo, when you are Einstein, when you are that guy, not their level of intelligence. I'm saying, like, when you have figured something out, whether it's in your hometown, how to fix a car, or dealing with women, whatever it is, when you figure something out, you have to trust it, right? When you know the way, you know the way. And it doesn't matter where anybody else goes. When you know the mountain, everybody else going this way, that's the wrong way. You've been there before, right? So that's the balance, I think. And also having friends who are like you, so maybe you don't follow the crowd, but you follow your friend. Like Drinking Dave gives me advice. I listen because I know who he is, right? So I know, I can trust where he's coming from. I know the building blocks are big. It's kind of the same as my friend Adam. Like, when Adam told me, I was kind of not sure where I was going to live. I had left Japan. I was in America for a few months. And I'm like, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do. And Adam's like, come to Thailand. I'm like, I'm not really a Thailand fan. He goes, you're going to like it. I go, look, I don't drink. I don't like whores. I don't do drugs. There's nothing there for me. Tourism, I've already taken enough. I've taken enough trips. I've traveled enough. I don't go to girly bars. There's nothing there for me. And he goes, you'll like it. That's all he had to say. Because I knew that he knew me. And I just said, okay. And I went. And sure enough, there was a lot of things I didn't know about Thailand, which is like, it's a great place to walk. It's very, a lot of peaceful places in the middle of the city. There's like little rivers with no people, quiet, and there's like parks, and there's the air is pretty good, and there's a lot of good, public transportation, and there are a lot of intelligent people who came to Thailand, like the Richard Branson, like wealthy guys would just go to Thailand. And in the mix of all these tourists, there was some like really cool guys, actually, retired Japanese guys. There was Japanese internet guys living in Thailand. There's a good mix of people, intelligent people who were just kind of like, didn't want to live in one place. They would just be in Thailand, or they would go up to, Chiang Mai or whatever, they would go. So anyway, he was right, but I trusted him and his wisdom, and also sometimes you trust the crowd and sometimes you trust yourself. But that's the balance, right? If you're always going your own way, you're gonna be fucking like reinventing the fucking wheel all the time.
Yeah, you can't always be a contrarian. But in my life, I've noticed even when it comes to investing, like I'm typically like 80% of the time a contrarian. Yeah.
Okay, like for example, give me some examples. Yeah, talk right into the mic.
Just like, I'm not a big fan of like the major stocks, all the growth stocks like Facebook, Tesla, Amazon, just because, their valuations are so high up there that is, I just can't fathom, like, how is that not a massive bubble and how is that not going to pop,
That's a good example.
But when the stock market is this high, then I typically go for like stocks that will pay out dividends. So like high dividend paying stocks, because at least I know that I'm getting something back on my investment. So, hey, it could be quarterly or at the end of the year, but, I feel more safe in that when, the valuations are just so high. But yeah, I would say, mostly a contrarian on my end.
I think you are contrarian big time. Your personality is really contrarian, and that can really pay off. Well, these are two different things because stocks are based on, the valuation is based on other people doing things, right? Whereas when you're trying to get safely off a mountain, it's just based on what you do the right thing, right? There's no, the price doesn't go up or down on safety and getting off the mountain, right? And getting water, right? So stocks, I think that's a very good example of when this doesn't apply, or if you don't get in early enough. You follow the crowd if you're early in stocks. So if you can get in Tesla 197,
yes,
then you do want to follow the crowd, right?
Yeah.
If you could somehow get in before the crowd really poured it on, because you can always get out, right? So you would follow the crowd if you knew the crowd was coming.
Yes.
It was like when we were in Arkansas and the guys were floating down the river. Like my friend told me they're coming, and I'm like, "There's no people." And he goes, "The Armada is coming. Don't worry." And I'm like, "It's COVID." It says, he goes, "Don't worry, the Armada is coming." There's like a famous DJ, and he's coming down, like a DJ Moon. What was his name?
Something, yeah.
Yeah, Moon something. He's coming, and like his crew is going to be a million floating things coming down here, and girls taking off their tops and everything. It's going to be here in a few minutes. And I'm like, we couldn't see it. We're like, and even some guys left the day before. They're like, yeah, it's not going to happen. And they came. It was just madness once they came, right? That's why you guys split. You guys didn't believe it.
That happened.
I saw the photos.
It was madness when it came. It was like all of a sudden it turned from like nothing to like, total country, like college town. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing. If you can get in before the crowd, ride the crowd and get out, you can use the crowd's euphoria, herd mentality, right? That's wow. That's
on those suckers and
like the
then bounce
herd
off,
knowledge.
That's a great distinction, because so what we were saying before that, we were saying like either go with the crowd or don't go with the crowd, and you're saying like the crowd is stupid, so ride the crowd for a while and then bail out. So that's another thing you can do with house prices. When people, you see like a new area of town is going to go up in value, buy in there, and then as it rises, then it gets to the point, and then you move, right?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. So I think it comes down to like looking for potential in everything that you do. So even when it comes to stock, I buy stock that has potential. It could be long-term potential, but even my own condo here, I see potential in here because they're actually developing all the land around it. So it might not be worth the valuation or as much of the valuation, but in the future, in 5-10 years, this whole place will be packed out. So that will definitely drive the price up in where I'm located,
Where do you, so you go your own way in many ways, like describe yourself, like where do you go see yourself going your own way? Where do you see yourself going the way of the crowd? Because we do go way of the crowd, like we wear clothes, right? We all cut our hair, these are the way of the crowd. We wear shoes, we sit in chairs, we use piped in water, this electricity, this is all the way of the crowd. Like all these things society does. We do a lot of things the way other people do it without knowing it, right? Where do you follow? Where do you not follow? And where do you the crowd? And where do you follow and not follow the guys in MGTOW even?
So I think like just when it comes down to pure civilization, obviously we all drive on the right side of the road. We're all kind of respectable
Right,
to
you don't
other
go your
people.
own way on
Yeah,
the road, right?
yeah. It's not like we're just walking down the road and just flipping everybody off. We're not. You don't drive drunk. You're not doing like crazy drugs.
The wrong way down one-way streets.
Yeah.
Right, your own way.
Yeah, my own way.
No, but for the most part, yeah, I'd say that we do what everybody else does. It's just when it comes to MGTOW, it's just a couple different deviations that most people don't do, or actually married people are a minority now. So I think more people.
Bill. You got to meet Racer Bill. You and Racer Bill.
I did.
He was at
He
our.
came to.
Oh, he was there.
Yeah.
You got to hang out with that guy. You two guys together. I think you guys will come up with some cool stuff because you guys got some similarities, but also differences.
Yeah.
I forgot. That's right. You met Racer Bill. Okay, you got it. Yeah. We got to get him to come out. He invited us over. He's like, come to Houston. I actually sent him a message. I thought he was someone else. And he's like, come on over. I'm like, who is this?
Oh.
This is Bill. So what, anything else? Where do you...
No, I think it's just like the marriage and don't cohabitate. Like most everything else, I mean, investing is different for me, but that's just a personal choice. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you go the one way of your dad? Do you go, of your, like the way your father went? Are you contrarian to that? Are you going along with somebody that you've met? Like, sometimes you can go your own way that you saw before. Somebody else did this and you respected them. Whether it's an investor or a lifestyle or whatever.
So I kind of think that my grandpa, actually, my mom's biological dad, was actually kind of MGTOW because he never got married, and he never got married, and he was always on safaris and stuff. Now he was also like a multimillionaire, but he put his children up for adoption, and he kind of hey, I mean that was kind of like, I don't know, I never really knew him. I had only ever been to his place once. But I don't know, looking back on it, I'm like, guy kind of, I don't know.
Whoa.
He had a great life. And, yeah.
And the kids turned out okay.
Yeah. So my mom was adopted, and, grandparents are cool. So, hey, it's a win-win, I guess. Because my grandparents originally thought that they could never have kids. So by adopting them, that was kind of their substitute. So it kind of filled their hole in their life. And, it also, hey, if you don't want to settle down and get married and have children, then that was his epic life too on his end, So it worked out for both parties.
Right. I think one thing is for me, I think the key thing is the ability to solve problems. So regardless of whether it's going the way of anybody else or whatever, it's just that ability. I think one of the key things just to be able to solve a problem right now, however the fuck it is, what is the problem that needs to be solved and how to fucking solve it and get it done the easiest way, the best way, the cheapest way, and with the least damage. I think that is the answer. It's not about going anybody's way or not. If somebody has a better solution, if someone has a better technology, I'm gonna totally turn my back. I'll be a trader in 2 seconds. I'll completely turn my back on an idea or philosophy or technology or whatever. That's one thing people will hear something and they'll say, "Oh, that guy's a fanboy or that guy's this." Hell no. I'll turn in 2 seconds on anybody or anything because I see there's another way to do it. I was just reading about it, a new jet engine from China that they found in a university that's electric, that's using plasma, and it was it's still not completely perfected, but if it works, it's going to be insane. It's going to be no more jet fuel. And it's very powerful. It's incredible actually. There's a couple of details they have to work out, but so I could switch in a second to a new technology or a new way of thinking, And I think, but what was I going to say? Problem solving. That's what it's all about. It's all about problem solving. If women can help you solve problems, if society can help you solve problems, if you need to, then just do it. Get it done. Like, what the fucking way you do it? Like, doesn't matter. It's not a pride thing. Like, oh, I'm going my own way. I don't have to do this, or I don't,
Yeah. And like assimilating to the culture too. I mean, that's a really good thing because you don't see any Native American restaurants for the most part here because we assimilated to the culture. We assimilated to the turkey, to the corn, to all that stuff that, the Native Americans originally had because, during that Thanksgiving dinner, that's all that they had, really. That's all the pilgrims really had. And from there, assimilating can be very useful. And you really do just want one culture when it comes to, a country, or otherwise you'll just fracture and fall apart. So to a certain extent, you do want to assimilate, but, you also have to have your boundaries and your limits too. And you have to know yourself, really.
Well, the thing is, people will love to disagree with that. But the truth is that everything we do is, whether we like it or not, it's assimilated. Like this, what is this whiskey here? You got some Crown Royal, right? What country is that from, right?
Canada.
No, but originally, where did whiskey come from, right? Probably from the UK or from Scotland or Ireland, right? This is assimilated, right? And then look, vodka, this is assimilated from Russia, right? Probably somewhere there. I got coffee here. Coffee is probably from Central America, or I don't know where they first made coffee.
Chocolate when it comes to the Catholic Church.
Yeah, chocolate is assimilated from somewhere. Coffee is assimilated from somewhere. Let's see. Who first, there's knives over there. Who first made a knife? Probably the Chinese, I would suspect. I know that Chinese sword, knife technology, it went to Japan, so people think it's Japanese, but it all started from China. A lot of that steel, that advanced steel came from China. The techniques they had. The Japanese had the 18 layers of steel in the katana knife. Like a lot of those, yeah, that's why it's so different. The katana is different because it's like a German knife is just one piece of steel that's sharpened. The Japanese, it's 18, just imagine 18 layers of, say, foil, heated up, and then pounded together. So that's why it's that's why it's so sharp. Because you can't sharpen as sharp as it gets when you put together thin layers. It becomes a sharper knife. And yeah, so it's a different technology. Same way when they make an egg omelet, the Japanese, it's just a million layers. And when you first make it, you think it's just made like an American omelet. You just put eggs in there. It tastes terrible. And then you have to watch an expert, or on YouTube, I'm sure you can watch it, them make the egg sushi where watch the layers they put in it. That's something like the steel. It's interesting to see that you assume it's the same, but it's not at all the same. And a lot of work, too, to make that fucking egg sushi, Yeah, you think, it's just eggs,
Egg sushi, wow.
Yeah.
That's a strange one.
Yeah. But it's good. It's good. It's kind of a staple of the sushis is egg sushi. You'll have that one. But we assimilate everything. I mean, glass is somebody else inventing glasses. I can't. Sometimes I find myself. This is stupid. Sounds crazy, but I'll be sitting in a chair and I'll just think, what a fucking idiot, just sitting in a fucking chair. Like I'm such a fucking idiot that I just see a chair and just sit in it.
Naturally, yeah.
Yeah.
You just want to sit down.
I just sit in a fucking chair. Like some other guy invented this technology, and it's like, in a sense, you see people are robots, right? And I think it's good to think about this kind of stuff. I know this is going to sound weird to people, but if you think about, why am I sitting in this fucking chair? Like, why am I not? Because I knew this guy, and he was a very unique guy, actually. And he would always lay on the ground. He would never sit in chairs, ever. This guy would never sit in chairs. He would always lay on the ground. And we would be in like a meeting, and he would lay on the ground. And so I called him Lay on the Floor Neil. And then that became his nickname, Drinking Dave, Lay on the Floor Neil. And then it was a perfect name because you had to say the full thing, because then you understand, lay on the floor, Neil, okay, he's going to lay on the fucking floor. So he would sit on the floor. And I remember he engendered so much hatred from people because he would not sit in chairs. Like, it sounds weird, but it's very antisocial. Like we're all sitting in chairs and he's laying down here. And so he would sometimes lay, like there was like a meeting table. He would be laying underneath the table where our feet were. Yeah. Sometimes he would lay there. Sometimes he would lay over here. Now, I'm not saying it's a way to be. I'm just describing this guy. He was a very unique guy. He was a Shakespearean actor when he was younger, and he was one of the best speakers I ever met. He had an ability to use pause and to express himself that was so amazing to me. Even though he was this very strange guy, he is a very strange guy, but I could not believe the power he had as a public speaker. I'm serious. He would just like, everybody just talks like I talk. He would just like go, pause. And he would sit there for like a long time. And he wasn't doing it in a power way. It was part of his expression. And then when he started talking again, you could understand like why he paused. You know, he wasn't like using pause either as like a mime will try to fuck with you. He wasn't doing that. He was using it as part of his expression. And then I realized how much we just chatter without pausing. He's a real professional speaker in a way, and he could use that pause. But anyway, he was a unique guy, and he just didn't give a fuck what people thought at all. And he would lay on the floor. And I remember the anger people had towards him, because I kind of liked the guy somehow. I thought, lay on the floor, Neil's all right. He just does his own fucking thing, and he does not give a fuck. Like, talk about going your own way. Don't sit in chairs at Starbucks. He just would not sit in chairs, like, ever. I never saw him sit in chairs. He just doesn't sit in chairs. He will not fucking sit in a chair. And it was like I like, fuck. I mean, it was just like, but he got me thinking about like, why do I fucking just do what everybody does? Why do I cut my hair? Why do I wear clothes? Why do I sit in chairs? Like, I just go about my life basically like a robot. Like, everybody just has it all set up for me. The door, you go through the door. You don't climb up the balcony. You sit in a chair. If you start to think about these things, I'm not saying you don't want to be like Neil. I'm not saying you don't want to sit in a chair. I'm saying just be aware that most of your life, you can call yourself MGTOW, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself, but most of your life is just slavishly following what some other man usually designed, and you're just going about your day while you're saying you're going your own way, but almost everything you're doing in your life is what somebody else invented, somebody else thought of, somebody else set up for you. And what really drives me crazy when you go to a park and you have to walk on a certain path.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that's Asia. All the parks are almost like that. British parks, British parks break the mold. French parks. You always have to walk along. The roses are here. You can't go in there. There's like a path to go around the roses. And then other parks, like British parks, you have like trees and you can go on the grass and play. That was a very radical idea, because before you would just look at parks. And for me, I don't just want to look. Not only do I want to play in the grass, I want to go in the water. So a park has to have water you can go into for me.
I totally wanted to go in the water in the World War II memorial.
Yeah, if you can't go in the fucking water, I don't know. Like yesterday.
Yesterday, the World War II memorial in Washington, D.C. That looked like it looked an awesome place to swim. And it actually looked pretty safe. It wasn't like they had wires under everything. I'm like, somebody could go in there safely.
That's coming from a veteran, too.
Yeah, you can only stick your feet in there. Right. And I'm a veteran. I definitely should be able to swim there.
And here's
Swim with your brothers.
No,
fallen brothers.
Fallen brothers. They would want me to swim.
In unison.
Yeah, they would want veterans swimming in there. I know they would. I know World War II vets.
right.
Exactly.
And you're a vet.
Yeah. And
you're
I'm
a wounded fucking vet.
I'm a combat vet, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's right.
So this guy's not, that's the real deal. And I agree, it was interesting too on that. It's funny because we were kind of separate at that moment, right? At the yesterday. Yeah. I was walking around by myself and you were there. And this is a great introduction to all the video that's going to be playing over this. This is Washington, D.C. I was sitting there looking at that water and there was a sign and it said, it gave very specific instructions. Did you read that?
Yeah, feet. So you can sit. Yeah, right. You can sit on the edge of the pool and put your feet in, but if you're not in contact with the outside, but you can't stand up, you can't swim, you can't walk in it.
Because it's not showing respect. They upped the ante. They didn't just say don't go in the water. Oh, right. It's like not showing respect to the veterans. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't agree with that. Those veterans didn't vote that no respect is swimming.
Yeah.
Why is no respect? Why? Like, who made this up? Like, I want people. If I had a grave, I want a grave with a lake or a swimming pool next to it, and people can fuck on the rocks. People can have a good time. People can talk. People can camp. People can do whatever the fuck they want. They can enjoy my fucking grave. Like, it's not a sign of respect by being very cold and like bowing and everything. Although, don't get me wrong, I really respect the Japanese bowing and all that. And, I understand that whole culture, and I actually like it. But the thing is I respect it as somebody else's thing. It's not mine. But I want some movement. I want a fucking tree and people are climbing, and not partying. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about using it, like enjoying it, breathing into it.
I think that kind of comes down to kind of pulls back to the Christianity and how so I was a pastor's kid, so the more rules you have, then the more moral you are, and then you can kind of you don't really say that you cast judgment and damnation down on other people, but inside that you're better than those other people because you hold yourself to a higher standard. So I think when they're doing all those added rules, they're kind of wow, we're up here, we're even higher, and we're definitely paying respect to these World War II vets because we do all these rules,
Those rules that were set down by somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
I think NoFap is like this too. NoFap is exactly like this. I'm better because I'm doing this thing that's bad for my body and that makes me miserable, but I'm trying, I'm fucking trying, right? It's no, man, if it ain't helping you, fucking, don't do it. That's my opinion. The rules don't matter, these kind of rules,
Well, back to the whole Christianity thing, and feeling like you're better. It kind of reminded me about something I was saying the other day, actually, where there's a prayer in Catholicism called the Apostles' Creed, and I believe that if you were reciting the same words that the apostles said, it's kind of greater importance because it's authentic. You're being similar to the authentic people who are doing the authentic thing, and then. Throughout my childhood, the Apostles' Creed prayer was said one way, and then in my adult life, they changed the words. And I was like, but if you change the words, that's not what was originally said. And I was like, well, I guess it wasn't authentic anyway because we're saying it in English. But now, not only is it in English, but it's completely different. Now it's causing me to question things that. Not only is this inauthentic, but I don't know, now I'm wanting to go against the grain, everyone's going in this along with it, and I'm just questioning it. Sometimes change is really important to realize what's bullshit or just to change is necessary or an opportunity to cause you to question.
Maybe it's a maturity too. You saw when you were a kid, there is something to be said for respecting older people and older traditions. Even if they're fucking bullshit, there is something just like when you go to a funeral, let's say you pass a funeral, right? You don't know the guy, right? You're just walking by and you don't really like the guy. You don't know him. You don't respect him. You never even met the guy. You don't even know if it's a woman or a man or how old he was or whatever. But at the same time, you're going to be quiet. You're not going to use bad words. You're just going to walk by the funeral and, maybe you'll stop talking until you get past it, right? There is something where maybe when you're younger, you were showing respect for something and then that was good. But now you're older and you're dissecting it and you're realizing behind the scenes, wait, this supposedly perfect Apostles' Creed isn't even the real thing. It wasn't even really what it was. And then you're now it's rewritten, kind of like Superman is suddenly Chinese or something, and everything's every character changes, everybody's interchangeable. And then you realize, oh my God, they're just using this as a way to push an agenda. And so it's the same thing. You're just this is bullshit. And then you're saying, wait a second, maybe, for me, I would say, maybe those apostles never even lived. Maybe it was just a story made up. Somebody wrote down that there was this thing that happened, and now we believe that these guys actually lived. Because there's a great movie called The God That Never. The God That Never Was, and it's basically an argument that Jesus never existed, and it's a pretty damn good argument too. It's a historical argument, and it's the God who wasn't there. That's what it was. Definitely worthwhile, even if you're Christian. It's a good, worthwhile movie to watch, because it gets you thinking. And it's whoa, maybe books, whether it's this book, or I'm not talking about that particular book, but all the books, maybe things that we think were actually real that were written down weren't actually, they were just a bias from the beginning, And the best argument for this is the fucking most interesting thing for me. Okay, I was walking by this Buddhist, I was in a Buddhist temple in where was I? China. I was in China. So a Buddhist temple, when you walk in, there's a big Buddha. You take your shoes off, and there's the big Buddha, and it's very peaceful. There's the candles and stuff. And then the Buddha statue's in front of you, kind of on a stage. And in a lot of temples, you can walk around the stage. You probably think you can't when you sit there. You think you have to sit on the outside. No, you can actually go in, unless they're having a ceremony or something. You're allowed to walk in and walk behind the stage. So what you want to do is you want to walk behind the stage because the stage is covered with wood carvings usually, and those wood carvings are people. And at first, when I saw the wood, I just passed them by. I didn't even notice, and just wood carvings, But then I started learning. I helped somebody translate their master's thesis in Japanese gardens. And then I started realizing that everything in a temple has meaning. Every single thing, the direction of everything, every rock, every carving. And I'm not saying it's a deep meaning. I'm just saying that there was they thought about it. It's not just Westerners would just put up a wall. They don't think about it. Chinese, no. Japanese, no. One of the Japanese gardens I went to took 400 years to build. 400 years of one gardener making it and his son taking it over, and then his son taking over, and his son taking it over. And it was 400 years of watching the leaves grow in front of the rock and realizing that's going to block it at this season. So they moved the tree a few inches so that the leaves blossom around the rock. And then they realized that this color tree looks good with that color tree behind it. So they moved the tree behind it. And then, so a 400-year-old garden is like a CG, it's like a computer graphics all year. When you sit there, you're looking at something that is, the depth is incredible, actually. I'm thinking about one particular garden in Shikoku, and in Tamamatsu. And it's incredible because every season you go, everything, the depth, the colors, and then, of course, that's just the looks of it. But there's also, the Japanese have two things, right? There's the looks and the meaning. So everything has meaning too. So the rock is a god, for example. And so they around the rock, around the god, they'll have the gravel that they do. And I realized that everything has meaning. So basically back to the Buddha. So I'm walking around the Buddha and I see all these things. So then I just thought, because now I speak Chinese, so I said to the guy he was just kind of sitting there, and he wasn't a scammer. He was just, sometimes there's scammers in these temples. And anyway, this guy was cool. And I just started talking to him, and I said, so what's the deal? What's the deal with this? Why are these statues here? And he said, he was cynical. He's yeah. He goes, see those guys in there, all those guys? He goes, those are the guys who bribe people. And I was like, no fucking way. Yeah, he goes, those are the guys who paid a lot of fucking money. Yeah, he said in Chinese, he's a lot of fucking money to get their face on there. And they're probably, most of them, bastards, And I was cracking up. I was rolling. It was just me and him. And he was a younger monk, right? And he's giving me the lowdown. He's this guy here, he basically felt bad because he owned a brothel and he wanted to go to heaven. So he paid a bunch of money to have his face right here.
Just like the Catholic Church.
Just like every single human civilization, right? And I was cracking up, so I can never look at those faces the same. But now, whenever I go, you'll notice in the videos, I always focus on the faces, is because I know that somebody will catch it. There's meaning in these things. You're looking at something there, and you can start to think about it. I wonder why this is like this. Now, obviously, the guy might have been too cynical. Not everybody, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying life has always been like it is. Life was never different. Humans have always been human. Life has always been life. So what, I don't know where I was going with that, but it definitely got me thinking different for sure.
And just to take it back to, we were talking about older people at the funeral. And I think when it comes down to, back in the old days, it was kind of like a warrior. So if you actually made it to that age, that's actually very impressive. Whereas when everybody, makes it, or the vast majority of people make it to 70, 80, 90, and there's, it's just a different, it's kind of like the old way of thinking of respect. Respect should be given, but when everybody's making it to all those ages, then I think we kind of flip it to where we're no, respect should be earned, because it's no longer as impressive. Back in the warrior days, you were probably fighting battles, and if you made it to that age, wow, holy crap. But I don't know.
Wow.
Or it's only
Wow.
a few people. Yeah. Or you know, like you said, it's a small group. It's if it's people, right? Very rare people. You're like, I can. It's a small number, so I'm like, I think maybe they deserve respect. I'll let them. But like you said, once it becomes like a big part of the population,
30% of the population,
right? Then we got to start looking on an individual basis and probably earn respect more.
Wow, this is heavy. And then I've been thinking about this, like respect of older people, because yeah, you guys really nailed it, because when there was only a few, not only was there smaller numbers, but they earned it. Okay, now through genetics or through action. Because now every fat fuck can just get an electric car and go around Walmart. Right? And he's going to get injections, and he's going to get this, and he's going to have a prosthetic penis, and he's going to get, he's going to have an ectoskeleton picking him up. He's going to have a government, if he can't earn money. What's that?
New kidneys.
Yeah, new kidneys. Yeah. You can buy them in China. He's going to get, like if you can't fit through the door, then the door company gets sued for $1 million. So they make a door that's so huge, and like McDonald's, the chairs can hold up, a larger automobile, because just in case, they don't want to get sued, right? There's always enough space, and so everybody is. I don't want to go off on this too much, but basically, no matter how stupid you are or how undisciplined you are, you can live to an old age now. And
it's not respectable.
And I would say too, to diss myself, is if you had today's safety features on cars, they never saved me personally, but they could have, because I did, when I was younger, I definitely did a lot of racing, and I was racing on a motorcycle. What am I saying? But anyway, there's technology that was there, the helmet, that saved me, that could save me. So there was ways that you could take risks that you could never take before. And now you can take them and still live. Whereas in the old days, if you took those kind of risks and you made it, holy shit, that guy, whatever the hell with that guy, but he somehow survived. It's like the one guy who survives a war, he comes back. Or the one, I was thinking the one cow that gets out of the slaughterhouse. Like he's like a god, that cow. Like how the fuck did he, did you ever see the one where the cow jumps out of the truck? He's like going to the slaughterhouse. He jumps out of the fucking truck on the freeway.
No.
Yeah, that's a good video on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, so I might be stroking my own ego here, but Steve's laughing right away. No, don't be stroking anything else. So basically, when you say that there's different survival features, or anyone can make it to old age, basically there's not as many risks today as there was before, but living alternate lifestyles, like the way that I live my life, where I have multiple careers, and even people in general going their own way, if you do it successfully, and for an extended amount of time, you're really the one. You're the one doing it. You're taking the risk, you're making it happen. There's no bullshitting that.
Yeah.
There's no faking that.
Right.
Yeah. No,
totally. It's true. And actually, I know that's my personality too. I always do it the hard way. I always, if everybody's making money in California, I'll go to China and try to make money. And you can seriously, I do that. I did that. I sat on the streets of China and sold stuff on the streets with poor people. I fought for a piece of ground. You know what I mean? I fought for basically homeless people fight for a piece of cardboard. I fought for a piece of ground every night to get my piece, so I could stand there. I did that. And my friends were some people in my family are extremely rich. I could have just joined the company. But I fucking did not do that. I did the exact opposite. I went into the misery and pain of a third world country and literally competed on the street with those fucking guys. I don't know why I'm this way. I'm not saying it's a good thing to do. It's probably fucking totally stupid. But that's just the way I do it. Always.
but you know what you're capable of.
I don't know why the fuck I do it though. Really, I don't even know. Maybe there's not even a good reason. Maybe there's a bad reason. I don't know. But maybe it's just idiocy. I don't know. But anyway, it makes your life different. That's for sure.
So on that note of doing things harder, it's funny. I like with my kids. Anytime I do anything like whatever it is that's difficult, I always use the Kennedy going to the moon speech. Like especially my one of my kids in particular is always like, "Why are we doing that? It's so hard." And I'm immediately like, "Why are we going to the moon? We do not do it because it is easy. We do it because it is hard." And then they just give me that look. They just roll their eyes and they're like, "Okay, Dad, I guess I'm stuck doing it." But that actually gets them over the edge. It gets them to do the more difficult thing. They're always like, "Why are we learning this extra? Like, why are you teaching us this extra stuff about like how to stop a car in case of why are you teaching these emergency procedures? I'm probably never going to have them." I'm like, "But you might." That's why we're doing this extra training on or above what is normally taught in a driving class. And I'm like, and I use that quote, if anybody's parents out there, but I use that quote with my kid about, "But Dad, this is so much harder." I'm like, "We do it because it is hard, not because it is easy." And then they're like, "All right, maybe, I guess we'll do it."
Right. And back to the problem solving thing. I was just thinking like, maybe for me, like what is the benefit is like, I can solve problems like by myself. Because I don't take the advice I was giving in this thing. I always go my own way, but I don't recommend it. Like, it's extremely dangerous to always go your own way. It really is. To take on a bunch of guys in a fight with a knife, I've done that. That's not the smartest thing to do, and I've been very lucky because people tried to like rob me and a couple times with knives and I took them on by myself and it was more than one guy. And that's not very smart. Statistically, I wasn't in a good situation. I don't recommend defending yourself in that way. And don't get me wrong, this was not offensive. This was defensive. I was under attack. But I don't like unfairness. And I will die for unfairness. I'm just not into it because I was treated very unfairly as a kid. So when it's unfair, I'm willing to go to the end because I fucking don't like that shit. You know what I mean? But I was just thinking about something. I was going to say, because Chaim asked me to tell a story, I don't know if it makes sense now, but because that ability to, when you do kind of, thread the needle on this, where you do things like I sit in a chair right now, but the thing is, when you thread the needle of doing what other people want, other people do, and also your own way, you're able to solve problems. And I look at kids today and I see like, it's so easy to solve their problems. The other day I didn't have a spoon and I didn't have a knife. Usually I use a knife for ice cream because you can cut it in half, right? It's easy. But I didn't have a knife. And so I had a comb that I had never used because I never combed my hair. So I had the comb and it was clean. So I just was cutting the ice cream with the comb and I was eating with the comb. And Chaim was laughing and he's like, yeah.
The chocolate ice cream. Your hair looks darker now, but but it's good.
Yeah. But I just, the ice cream was, right there and I had the comb. So I was cutting it in half with the comb and I used the comb to eat. And it was clean. There was nothing wrong with it, But it was the only thing I had besides my finger. And I couldn't use my finger because we were sharing the ice cream. So I had a clean comb, so I used the comb. So anyway, that's the way I think. I don't even think twice about it. But when I was in high school, was it maybe college? Yeah, I must have been in college or high school. I was in Southern California, and we were climbing a mountain. And there's hardly any mountains in Southern California, but Big Bear has some mountains, and they're kind of half-ass mountains between hills and mountains. You can ski, and there's ski resorts. But anyway, it was summertime, and I had shorts on and T-shirt. But it fucking snowed. Believe it or not, fucking summer, it fucking snowed in California. And it was suddenly very fucking cold. And I was not ready for it. And I was walking with my friend, the same two guys, Arian and Rex. We were hiking, and all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, I realized that my hands, because I had no gloves, that my hands were a level of cold I've never had before. Like they were absolutely frozen. My hands were and they were getting worse. I could feel them. I could almost feel them. I could feel them getting frostbite. Like I was losing it. My hands were, it didn't make sense. So my logical mind was like, I'm in California. I just left the beach 3 hours ago. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't, not supposed to snow in the summertime. I'm here with my friend. But then there was a moment of self-preservation when I realized, wait, I'm going to get frostbite and lose my fingers. My hands are absolutely fucking freezing. So I stuck them in my shorts. That wasn't enough. They were too cold. And I started just running just frantically. I didn't know what I was going to do because everything was cold. The trees were cold. The rocks were cold. There was no heat. There was no fire. And I needed heat right fucking now. So I started running. And then I saw a tent. So it was so cold that everybody was just frozen. And I went to the tent. I was yelling at the tent, is anybody in there? Is anybody in there? And then somebody said that, I'm in here. And I said, my hands are freezing. So I went in and stuck my hands under his, or inside his sleeping bag and just with his body. Because my hands, my hands were just fucking freezing, and it was, even that was just barely enough. And the guy was like, he was like, I get it. And it was like, I saved my hands, I think. It was pretty cool. But that was problem solving. It's like, I think when you go the hard way, you have that ability to, when you need it, you solve it. Because I don't think there's anything else I could have done. I don't think there was any other solutions.
But it was the times you did it before. Like, right, but I think what you're saying, but you built up, not you built up to that, but yeah, you do problem solving all the time, many times before that, to be able to come up with the problem solving at that time. Like your body and mind were used to problem solving. Yeah. It's like, don't wait. I don't know how old you were then, but don't wait till then. Start with the problem solving as soon as you can, however age you are. And then the more you get used to that, the more you're going to be able to handle a situation like you just had.
Well, how does it mean to you? Like, how does it work in your life? Like, what do you... Like, because theoretically, yeah. Again, I'm going
back to my kids, where I'm like, that's exactly what you're talking about. I spend not all the time, but I spend time thinking, I'm like, well, what can I do? What can I do to make things a little bit difficult for them now, so that when they're in that situation you just described, they'll be able to figure out how to get out of it. Like, I don't want them they solve no problems their whole lives, and all of a sudden they're on a mountain with freezing hands. They're like, what the fuck do I do? What app fixes this or whatever? Like, there's no app to fix it. You got to figure it out.
And my brain didn't even want to accept that it was happening. That was the hardest part, because my brain was like, "You just left the beach. You're in Southern California. These mountains are not real mountains." Because even then, I was like a pretty adventurous guy, and like I was like, "These are not real mountains. This is Big Bear. It's nothing," So my mind couldn't even start to think of a solution because of my internal block of logic. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't even, solving the problem was one thing, but even accepting I had a problem was the hardest part of it. Once I accepted my hands are going to freeze, I'm going to lose my hands, I got to do something, then it was easy to get, well, it wasn't easy, but it was possible to find a solution. But I was really resistant to even doing anything. I was almost willing to let my hands freeze and lose my fingers rather than change. That was the hardest part, actually.
Yeah, and I think that sounds great. I think if you were asking me directly, I would translate it to me. That's one of the things when I was a younger guy, one of the reasons why I joined the military was because I was trying to figure, how can I make stuff? I'm like, this life, I was afraid that in difficult, high-stress situations like you're describing now, or you've described in numerous other situations, that later in life, if I waited till later in life to first experience those, that I would freeze or not know what to do. But I've seen people freeze. I've seen older adults who should know better in life or death situations just freeze and have no idea where to go. And I believe that's because they have no experience with putting themselves in difficult situations and problem solving at lower stress situations while they're growing up, while they're maturing. I think that's part of. I think people.
Well, how do you recreate that?
By putting yourself in difficult situations when you're younger.
Difficult situation, because you can die in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
That's different to everybody, though. But I think what we really covered here was, you gotta learn to adapt, you gotta learn to assimilate sometimes, and then there's a time to be contrarian, and you just need to be a well-rounded individual, and it just comes with time, typically speaking, or just through different life experiences.
Yeah.
I just think it's something I could. That when you guys were talking, I just thought it gave me a second to think, and I think having friends that can problem solve is probably the number one thing for me, because watching other people creatively solve things frees my mind to do it. If I'm surrounded by people who can't problem solve, now at this point it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But when I go into a new environment, say something totally, totally new, sometimes I have to be reminded of this, that I can do it, and not be stuck in that this shouldn't be happening, this isn't happening, because I didn't have much time. That's the truth. I could feel it in my fingers. I didn't have much time at all. And I just if I would have waited, it wouldn't have been good. And I would have had all the excuses in the world. I would have been able to tell everybody my whole life, why I did this and what happened. It was like this. And they would be like, wow, I'd be able to show them a newspaper article or something. But I don't want any of that. I just want to make it through this day and get to the next fucking day. That's my main goal. End on that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we're gonna fucking go. I hope you enjoy the footage. This is Washington D.C. Killer footage. We walked around. I'm gonna say, actually, there's something worth adding on this. There's because yesterday was a killer day.
Oh, yeah.
And for one thing, I'll say this: we got there. It was rainy. It said extreme thunderstorms, and there was a big event, like a gathering. We didn't know how many people, hundreds of thousands, for the Martin Luther King Memorial, which we wanted to go on the day before. We kind of got too late. We arrived too late to Washington. And we were staying outside of Washington. So we didn't get there. And then it was like severe thunderstorm, like flash. It was basically like looking very bad on the internet. And so then, and I'm like, fuck it. We're going to go walk in the rain. I wore my plastic sandals. Dave gave me, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And so then I said, okay, we're going to walk in the fucking rain, put our phones in bags, and we're just going to walk and trudge and just shoot videos all by ourselves in Washington. So we went down there. It was miserable. We forgot the fucking waterproof phone in the car. Time goes back and gets it. We're sitting in, it's really windy. We're sitting at McDonald's. There's nobody in the street. It's looking like the worst day to go to D.C. ever. And then we're just trudging through. But then it starts getting lighter and lighter and lighter. It turns into, as you'll see in this video, it turns into an epic day. The beginning of the day, I don't know if I'm going to put this first in the video or not, but if you look in here, you'll see when we went to, what is that, the Capitol building?
Yeah, started the Capitol building.
The Capitol building, it was the rain had just stopped. So you can see on the ground, there's puddles everywhere. And then it starts getting better and better and better as the day goes on. And it was like one of these days where I think most people wouldn't have gone. They just would have gone to Virginia Beach. We had a place here, come here, see you. But like here we are in D.C., man, fuck it. We got to see it. We got to film it. We got to be here. Fuck it. And we just like, all three of us, nobody was pissing. Nobody was a pussy. We're all just like, we're going to go. It's going to rain all day. We're going to be soaked. But we're going to film and we're going to try. That was our attitude. No matter what, we're just going to fucking do it. We're going to pay expensive parking. And we're just going to, we're just going to fucking do it. And that's why it's going to be. We ate a ton of food before we went. So we're not going to be hungry because the restaurant's going to be closed. And that was our attitude. And then that attitude brought us into it was an epic day. Like there was nobody there. Every monument we were by ourselves. We saw all kinds of cool shit. You'll see there was a bunch of Black Lives Matter guys down at the Lincoln Memorial, which is actually some of the most interesting footage of the whole day. Those guys. So I hope you enjoy that. It was just like something. There was a lot of stuff happening. Whatever side you are on of all these things, in the end, it's just the world we live in. It's like a picture of a crocodile, a picture of a flower, a picture of an ocean, a picture of a storm, a picture of an atom. These are all just the things that we live. This is our life. This is America. This is the world, right? And here we are. We filmed everything. In my videos, you see everything. I film garbage cans. I film beautiful glass buildings. I film protests. Whatever it is, I film because I like to film. That's my attitude. I'm interested in everything. I think I could even see, if you look, I might even do this as the thumbnail, is the guys all holding their fist up, in the kind of the Malcolm X pose, right? And it was very cool picture because everybody moved out of the way from behind, and because it was a day when nobody was there, the picture is just epic because it's like almost like a magazine. Everybody cleared out, but it wasn't like that. We were all there, and just that there was nobody there. And so the picture is just epic. So a lot of the footage you guys are seeing here is because we didn't follow the crowd, because we went our own way. Because we said, we're going to D.C., even though it's raining, even though it's going to suck, even though
there's a pandemic.
There's a pandemic going on, if you might have heard of that.
We missed the Black Lives. We missed, technically, you feel like you missed the Martin Luther King thing because it was the day before, saying, oh, there's not going to be anything, it's the day after. But, of course, there still were people left over, still doing stuff and having more pictures and stuff even the day after. So we wouldn't have seen that if we had just given up and said, well, the thing was yesterday, we're not going to see anything today.
Right, you're right. It's kind of like I was saying in the yesterday ridiculous thing about the surfing contest. Before and after, people are getting ready. People are still here. There's still juice. And sometimes the most interesting people, I think the guys we got are the most photogenic guys, which a photo, as everybody knows, says 1,000 words, right? So they were the most interesting, I would say, people were there. And I think the interactions were quite interesting too, because actually people were, not saying any deep meaning here, but people were very nice to us. There can be no argument about that.
Yeah.
People were fucking nice to us the whole way. And if you look at the picture, I was taking the picture, okay? And I'm standing up on this concrete thing. And there was a professional photographer they had hired that was taking a picture the other way. But if you look at the picture, they're looking at me. They definitely looked over at me when I was taking that picture, because I picked this high post. And they were all like, they looked over at me and I took the picture. And it was like perfect, because it was like they were posing at him, and then they also looked over at me. And that's interesting dynamic there too. It was interesting. The whole day was interesting. Washington was interesting. Nobody being there was interesting. The weather was interesting, and the protests were interesting, and the type of people that were there were interesting, and the fact that we fucking plowed through and did another fucking killer day. I hope you appreciate it, because this shit's not easy to get sometimes. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. Yesterday was a hard day, and it was fucking great. And we're here in Virginia Beach at the fucking biggest naval base in the world, right?
Yeah.
What is this place? This will be in the next video.
Norfolk.
Yeah, but what is it about it? What's special here?
Oh, wow. I don't know. You might want to read the signs along the way, then we can do like a recap analysis on
Okay,
it. But,
okay. We'll get in the details. Yeah.
It was 1776, and there's massive boats, and hey, we're gonna check it out. So.
Yeah, it's pretty. This is a very unique city. I can tell you that. It's hard to drive around this city. Hardest city in America I've ever seen to drive around. It's the most complex because of all the water and bridges and tolls and tunnels and military this and base here, and it's literally a maze of confusion. Reminds me of Tokyo. Tokyo is similar. It's driving around Tokyo. Everything was or Boston. Everything was, all the roads were built around cow paths. And Tokyo's even worse. It's like the footpaths, fucking footpaths from 1,000 years ago, and then now they're freeways, they don't make sense, they should be like more straight, they should not be like that, but that's the way Tokyo is, and that's the way Norfolk is. So we're here.
So how many days are we here in Virginia Beach?
We're here till Tuesday. Is that?
I have off Wednesday too, so.
Oh, really?
So yeah, you guys can stay till Thursday if you want.
Yeah, we should.
Okay.
Stay and hang out.
Looks like we're going to be here till Thursday, and the next thing is South Carolina, Columbia, right?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Columbia, and Tyler's there, and it sounds like it's going to be fucking fun because he's fired up. So I was saying, if anybody wants to come down, he's fired up. He's like, whatever the fuck you guys want to do, we're gonna go fucking do it. We're gonna barbecue. We're gonna go traveling. He's like all fired up, and that's fucking awesome.
And that's gonna be Labor Day weekend too, so it's gonna be like an all American thing.
Oh, kind of like 4th of July, right?
Yeah,
there 4th of
3-day weekend. Yeah.
Fucking A. Maybe this can become something. Yeah, let's see. Maybe there'll be a caravan going on here.
Yeah.
We're not inviting to Tyler's house, but maybe there could be another crew renting an Airbnb or something, or camping or something like that, right?
Yeah, big get together.
Yeah. Well, we can make something bigger, or we can go climb a mountain or some shit, or whatever. All right, guys. Thanks for listening.